Hello there, and this is our video for Thursday. I am talking about the app, the sample app that I'm creating here to show you guys as an example for what you can do with your apps. And I'm picking up where we left off on Tuesday. So on Tuesday, we had gone into Adobe XD and exported these graphics, and then used the template that I made inside of Dreamweaver. We first made a phone gap template and then opened it in Dreamweaver and installed all the jQuery scripts so that it has all the proper folders and all the jQuery scripts. And then we just basically, exported all the graphics from XD into the images folder here, um, and then put in the correct HTML code to display those on the page. Now, just like if you're building an HTML web page from scratch or something like that, when you make an app in this format, it makes sense to take a page and completely finish the page before you make other pages. And the reason is because then you can just copy and paste the code, to create those other pages. When I say completely finish the page, I mean I'm not really talking about the content itself, which is this area in the middle, because that's what's going to change on every page, and you can, link that to different pages at any time. I'm talking about more the idea of the hamburger menu that's probably going to be listed, a little icon up here. Maybe there'll be a little home button over on the left, and of course, maybe some footer icons. So you're definitely going to have all that stuff happening before you start copying this block of code and making additional pages, because then it just makes your life easier. All that stuff's working. Now, one thing to think about before you do that is you really need to think through your whole app. As far as like how many pages there will be, what there will be called, and all of that type of thing. Now, most of you guys are already in a good position because you've finished your XD apps, and so you know how many pages there are, how many sections, and it might be relatively easy for you to do that. Now, for me, and this app, it is relatively easy because you can see I just have these 5 links right here. And then if you add in a link to come back to this main page, which would be maybe the home, and there would be like a little home button up there, then really there's just 6 sections of my website. So, I'm calling it a website because, we're building it like a website, but we know that it's an app. So that's pretty easy for me. It's probably going to be pretty easy for you with yours. But if you want to, you can make like a tree diagram on a piece of paper, put your home page up at the top, and then another branch or another level with all the other pages on it. And then if you have further pages down, you can do that. And of course, that's something you could build in any sort of program. You could build it in Adobe Illustrator, Photoshop. You could use the Google Drawing program. If you're into making flowcharts and inverted tree diagrams, that sort of thing, that's certainly possible. Let's go look one up real quick just so you can see what I'm talking about. I'm gonna go over here to Firefox and look one up. Okay, so if we go over here to Firefox, you can see, I just typed in tree diagram for website. It could just as easily be tree diagram for app. And you can see, here's the simplest example. You got your home page and you have your first level, and then you got your, what we would call your second level, which is, pages that break out from individual sections. And, obviously you can go as insane in your levels of detail as you want with these. But if it's helpful to you, you might want to sketch one of these out, especially if you have a complex app. Uh, Having this all lined up will help you at least with knowing where everything is, and maybe even just knowing what the names to call each page. Because when you set up your initial page, you're going to want to link everything to all of the pages at the beginning. So you're going to need to know what they're all called. For example, in this app that we're building here, I need to know the names for 6 different links, all of these buttons and the home. So I can link all this stuff together here, right on the front page. That's the content. But then I need to link the home button I'm going to put up here, um, in this area. I need to link the menu to a menu page, and I need to link all my icons down here. So, in my case, or in our case, I should say, because we're building this together, it's pretty easy because if I just name each one of these pages the same name as I have here, and then name this front page home, I'm done, and like I said, you could construct a inverted tree diagram if you want, or a flow chart, and it's not a bad idea to do that, to get some experience with it, maybe even just to put it in your portfolio and show, hey, I thought this through. Here's my flow chart. Then this is the visual app I created, and here's an example of the actual working skeleton app I created. At the end of the semester, hopefully you'll have that to show as well. Okay, so thinking along those lines, the next thing to do would be to go ahead and start developing, maybe work from the top down, right? And so in my case, I'm thinking maybe there would be a home button over here. Maybe there would be a menu, a hamburger menu here, and then the icons that I have down here that I want to have down here. Now we can go back to XD and open my project. Let's see, open recent. And then, yeah, so this is my idea here. Of course it looks different here because it's just on the background. There's no black bar there. So, if I want to, I could get rid of that black bar, or maybe, which is in the app itself. Or maybe I could leave the black bar and make these icons white, or I could do the reverse, leave them black and make the black bar white, whatever I want to do. I kind of like them being just free floating here, so I might like to see what those look like if I just basically remove the background color for the footer, to see what that would look like. Although there are some advantages to having like a separate section for a footer and a header, and I haven't even thought about the header itself, like, because I didn't think to put it in the design. So, uh, is there going to be some text at the top there? Should it say wild chord? Probably, because, when you get to these other pages, you're not gonna have the wild chord logo there, so it might be nice to have that text up there. So let's start with something simple like that. We Let me go back to Dreamweaver here. Okay, so now of course, every time that I do a new video like this, I'm going to have to put new files up for you to download. And so what that means is that, on Tuesday, you downloaded that folder called My App, and you opened up Dreamweaver and you created a new site and you pointed to it. And basically, we're going to have to do that every time that I make a change, because otherwise you won't have the latest and the greatest files, plus all the graphics you need. So what that means is today, I'll put a file up on the website, and this will be called My App 2, and I'll basically just keep going with that numbering system, My App 3 and 4, every time I make a new file. And what that means is you'll do the exact same thing every time. You'll download the files, you'll decompress them, then you'll open up Dreamweaver, and you'll make a new site, and you'll point it to, the uncompressed files. And this time, instead of calling it My App, you'll call it My App 2. And basically what that means is you'll get a series of tutorials, stacked up in Dreamweaver, that'll each take you a little further down the road to making an app using jQuery Mobile with the PhoneGap template. And you can use all that information to build your app. Now, of course, it makes sense to, you don't want to take your app and build it 12 different times in 12 different folders, kind of like I'm doing here. It makes sense that you would just completely build your app in that first folder, the My App folder. Um, just you can cut and paste code from these other app folders that I'm going to give you into that main folder, and of course put all your graphics in there and build all your entire app in one place, right? That's what makes sense for you to do at home, and you know, what makes sense for me, the only way I can do this is to give you these apps, these additional app folders as I complete the parts of the project. Now, another option for you, I don't really recommend this, but maybe this, now that I think about it, actually this might make even a little more sense, although it's difficult to say which path is going to be easier for you. But so the first suggestion I made was, that, let's say you end up getting 6 different My App folders from me, right? Over the course of the next couple weeks, right? So now you got 6 different folders with different content in each one, and each one shows you how to do something different. And I'm saying, well, maybe you just want to be in the first folder and build your app. You know, there is another way you could do it. I don't know that I could necessarily recommend this, but it's possible, which is basically you could just build a new page in each one of the folders, um, and then take all of the content out of all those folders and put it into the first folder, and develop it all together into one big app. Now that could be kind of nightmarish for you because there might be broken links and so on and so forth. So I can't necessarily recommend that, but maybe some of you will, are confident in your abilities with using this type of program, that would be a way for you to go. Like I said, I don't necessarily recommend it, but there's really those 2 paths that you could take to build your app. Okay, so let's, like I said, let's start from the top down. And basically, what that means for today is we're going to accomplish building this header out. So get the home button and link that. Get the menu icon and link that. Change the name of this to Wildcord. And then, also try and put in the footer icons down here. Okay, so let's do the easy part. So header, you can just double click on it and name it Wildcord. Now, by the way, I'm working on, we have 2 pages in there. One is called Wildcord HTML, and one's called Wildcord2.html. And then, of course, you have your index page, which you can use to build your app. And it really doesn't matter which one of these you work on. I just open the Wildcord HTML file, and I'm working on that. But actually, now that I think about it, yeah, that makes sense. I'll work on the wildcord.html file, and then you guys at home, you'll have this as an example, just as per usual, and then you guys can do the same work on the Wildcord2 HTML file. Right now the two are identical, but at the end of this video, this one's going to have all the new stuff on it. You can use that as an example, and then you guys once again will work on Wildcord2 HTML. Okay, so we'll go into wildcord.html, and first thing we'll do is we'll change the name of the header to the name of the program, right, or the name of the app, right? And of course, remember, you can save at any time, so Command S will save your files at any time. All right, the next thing we want to do is we've got a couple of graphics we want to get in here. So let's see. Well, actually, now that I think about it, I wonder if any of those graphics are in there. I don't think they are, because I think we accounted for all the graphics. Let's go here. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. See, what the problem is on this page there aren't the graphics that I'm going to need. However, there are on this page, right? Now, what I'm thinking I might be able to do is make a new page with just the stuff I need, and then export the graphics. So let me see if I can pull that number off. So let's see, there's a little page icon, right? And if I just click once, I believe it makes a new page. Okay, so there we go, new page, right? Now, I don't need the background image because it's there already. I just need these graphics down here and this graphic and that graphic, right? So what I'm wondering is if I just hold down my Shift key and select all these bad boys and select this bad boy. Oops. It looks like I'm getting that little annoying thing here. Let's see this. Oops. Let's see. I've got this. There's this crazy. Well, it's locked. How do we unlock this stuff? Okay. I'm trying to get rid of this thing here. What is that? Oh, that's the background. Well, like I said, that's what I want to get rid of. Okay, it's locked. I don't know why that's locked. It's just the world's most annoying thing. Okay, And then let's make sure this layer isn't locked. Okay, great. All right, so now I can put this there. I just want to get rid of that little thing here because well, frankly, it's annoying. You click on it and it just selects that. Okay, and now I'm clicking on it and I'm just getting this, so that's annoying as well. Okay, so whatever process you guys have to use to get to your stuff, that's fine, right? So I got all those things out of the way. I'm now holding down my shift key, clicking on all my icons. Are you selected? I can't even tell. This one, I can't tell if it's selected or not. Let me zoom in a little bit. Wow, I just really can't tell with that. Let me select it first. Okay, it was just because it wasn't really showing up. The blue that I was hoping for wasn't really showing up. Okay, and then finally, yay, I've got them all. Okay. Now, I'm hoping, let's see, if we copy this, I'm hoping that there's some kind of a paste in place thing that will happen over here. Let's see, paste. It looks pretty good. Looks like it pasted them in place, which is completely awesome. Okay. Now, I can give this page a name if I want. But basically, it's just sort of a fake page that I made just so I can easily export all those graphics. All right, now if I want to, I can put this thing back on here, this background image, this thing I don't really care about. And then it's kind of weird that this thing is in front of everything. Let's see, arrange, send to back. All right, there we go. All right, so now we have this new icons page here, which we can select. We can select it by clicking on the name of it. And now if I just want to use the same export process, I should be able to get all of these graphics out of here into, you know, that graphics images folder that we're already using for the app, right? So let's go ahead and give that a shot. So now I wonder if I have to, I think just selecting the page will be enough. You know, I could always drag a marquee around everything and then that would all be selected. But I suspect that just clicking on the page will be enough. So let's go File, Export. We'll see it says selected, but I would assume that just means that artboard once again. So we'll find out soon enough. So now, of course, I want to navigate to my app, www images, and I'll save these as icons. I'll leave all the defaults designed as 1x, ping, iOS, and we'll just see what the result is. It'll probably bring 3 versions of each little icon over, but let's see what happens. Boom. Okay, so it did that. So now we can go look inside of here. Let's see, is there some kind of refresh here? Okay. I'm not seeing any new images in there, which is kind of weird and wrong. So I'm wondering if I had to select everything or if it's just lying to me about what's actually in there. So let me go to my desktop and find my app. Let's see. My app, www images. Oh yeah, so it did, oh, this is interesting. It did do it, but it just did everything as like it did it as like one giant image. That's kind of crazy. So there's just one giant image. Like if I open this in Photoshop, it's just going to be icons.png. Just one big image with everything all slapped together. Yeah, that's so uncool. Why did you do that this time? Probably because I didn't select everything individually. Okay, so now we know. That's fun. So let's try again. Okay, so This time, boom, we'll just select those bad boys and do export selected. Oh, what if that works? Wouldn't that be nice? Okay, and then export, and then it does that. Okay, so now, well, we should be able to go back here. Ah, look at that. That's lovely. Now we can see that, there's these little group things here. These basically each icon has its one time 100% version and the 200% and the 300% versions in there. So everything's good. So looks good. Looks good. Okay, so that's the way to do that. So now we can take these elements and put them into our Dreamweaver project here. Okay, so what we want to do is put some stuff, create a couple of areas here in the header where we can put our icons, right? Our home icon and then our little menu icon, hamburger icon, right? So that's going to occur up here in the header, right? So we've got the div data role equals header. And so what we have to do is put potentially a couple more divs in here so that we can have one on the left side and one on the right side that have those icons, that hold those icons, and then this could be in the center there. Okay, so we are now going to drop in areas on the left and the right that will allow us to put in those icons. If you recall, when we were doing the tutorial online from the Plural site, we built this page which was called demo.html. And what's nice about that page is it has a lot of examples in there for us. So, for example, here's a list of buttons. Here are two buttons right next to each other. Here's a navigation menu. So that's all available to us. We can grab the code and use that in our app if we want. But here's something else that we built. We put a back and a next button up here in the header. And we can use those, the code for those on our app now, and then simply replace this word back and next with graphics, and they'll still serve as buttons that can take us to the home or to the menu. Now, if you don't have access to your demo.html file that we built, you won't be able to open it up and cut and paste this code, but it's pretty simple code, and you can just type it in if you want. It's not really much of an issue. So if we look at this, if we click in this section here, we see that all it really is that there is a section here which is called back, right? And it's just an href tag, and it has the link, and it says data role equals button, and then it has the closing link tag, and then the word back. That's this. And then, of course, this already exists on our page where it says H1 and it says wildcard right there. And then simply the same type of code for the next button right here, right? Oops, made it go back there. Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to cut and paste this, but you guys can just as easily type this into your page if you don't have access to this demo file. So if I copy this, and I go back to my wildcard page here, and I find my H1 in the header, which is this right here, I can just go right before that and paste in this button here, and if I click over here, you'll see it pop in, right? Now, I can do it again. I can just come after the word header there and paste it in again, and this time, just to differentiate them, I can type the word next, and when I click over here, you'll see there's the back and the next buttons, right? Now, as I said, all we need to do, this is serving the role of a button, which means it's already ready to be clicked on, and all we have to do is put the link where we want it to go. So that's kind of nice. It serves as that background as the button. We just have to put our graphics in here. Now, I can already tell, since my graphics are black, and they're going to be on this black background here. Here's the header and the footer. Let me go up here and zoom in on these. So you can see that, since I have like a black house and a black hamburger menu and black icons down here, those aren't going to show up very well in the black. So I'm probably going to have to either switch those out with white versions of those icons, or maybe a simpler way to do it would be to open each image in Photoshop and basically invert it and change it to white, or add a color layer on top of it and make it white. So, but I'll show you what I mean. So for this back button here, we can delete that word back, and then we can just insert the little housing icon, the house icon. So insert image, and then we're just going to go down here and go to IC_home 24, and then there you see it. There's the house, right? Now, I don't know, maybe some of you would think that that is bright enough to see, against the sort of gray background there. It's possible. I mean, we could leave that, especially since there's a rollover and it lights up. We could leave it and see how it looks. Maybe we like the fact that it's kind of hard to see. Um, it's maybe a little subtle. It doesn't stand out. We could, well, I tell you what, we'll put in a white, a version of it that's white, and see if that's too much. And then if we wanted to get really tricky, we could even do like a 50% gray and see what that one looked like too. But now let's go ahead and drop in the menu bar here, the hamburger menu. So we'll delete the word next. We'll insert image. We'll drop in the menu. So that's going to be called IC menu 24. And then click over here, and you can see there's the menu. And once again, that lights up a little bit when you hover over it. It's kind of a little hard to see, but this is a usability thing. You could either depend on the fact that people kind of know what's going to be up there. Oh, and also the fact is, there's not going to be, I just thought about the fact there's not going to be any hovers in a phone, because, there's no such thing as a hover on a phone. You basically click on something and it changes, right? So that means the fact that this gets a little lighter isn't really going to help us. If we switched it so that the background wasn't that dark gray, but was this lighter gray, it might be a little easier to see, but it's still pretty dark. So let's see what happens if we change this in Photoshop. So what I could do is open up my files here and find like that home button to start with. So we'll take this one right here. You can right click on this and you can say open with, and then you can go to browse. Let's see, where am I going to find my apps here? Applications, Adobe Photoshop 2020. Okay, so I want to open this with Photoshop 2020. Okay, now of course this is a ping file, which means it has a transparent background. Now I don't know how well this will work, what I'm about to do, on something that's so low resolution, but to change this to white, you could either invert the color, or this works really well. Go under FX and do color overlay, and see, you just use white, and now it's gone ahead and save that as white. Now I'm going to save this under a slightly different name, um, so that I can differentiate between the two. So let me just go ahead and call this white underscore white. Okay, save, and okay. All right, now we can go back to Dreamweaver. Now we still got the black one in there, and that's because what's being called is IC home underscore 24px.ping, right, which shows that black one. But if I just simply go in here and change what I'm calling to the white one, and we get that, right? So now you see that little White House up there, and I don't know, I think that looks pretty cool. Kind of goes up here with the word wild chord in white. So I like that. I think I'm going to stick with it. I'll do the same thing with my little menu here. So once again, going into the files, uh, let's see, menu, this one right here, right? So right click, open with, browse, Photoshop 2020. Whoa. Whoa, this one's weird. Oh, I see. It's just those black lines right there. Okay, so same thing, color overlay. It should work identically to the other one. And then same thing, let's just call this underscore white. Now, fortunately, I'm gonna have to make all these and stick them in the folder so you guys don't have to. In other words, when you guys are doing this tutorial, what you can do, I'm not going to go back and change it in the video or anything, but what you can do is, um, when I'm going through the tutorial and I say, okay, I'm going to go in and get this, little black house and put it in there, just save yourself some time and grab the white house and put it in there. And save yourself some time, grab the white menu, put it in there. I'm going to have to change all these logos, these icons to white as well. And so you can just grab those and put them in as well. So once again, we go here to the menu and, change the name to white, and there it is, right? And that's looking pretty good already. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to pause the video for a second and go ahead and take all of these icons down here and change them to white like I just did in Photoshop so that they'll be ready to use for me and for you, and you won't have to sit around and watch me do all that. So let me pause the video real quick. Okay, now something just occurred to me. I paused the video for a second and changed all those icons to white. But something just occurred to me. It won't affect what we're doing here, but it will affect you if when you're working on your own apps. And what that is yeah, I pretty quickly and easily changed these to white, but then I just recalled that there's 3 versions of each graphic. Remember, it makes the 200% and the 300%. So if I had to do every one of these icons, change its color 3 times, that gets kind of onerous and problematic. So a better idea for you guys, going this route to do your own apps, is to go back to the original source files, these, and change these to white, if you're going to have a black background. And then when you export it, it will produce the white version and then the 200% and the 300% white version, right? So, like I made these logos. These were vector logos, some of which I found online and some of which I created. And, I can easily take these into Photoshop and change them. Heck, since they're vector, I might even be able to change them right here. Let's see. Fill is black. Let me see. White. Let's see. Or well, and there's no fill. Okay. So how about we choose white? Okay. And then, right. So let me see if that actually worked. Yeah, it did. So, okay, that's simple. If your artwork is vector art like this, you might be able to just recolor it right here, and that solves a bunch of problems. And then you can just export it, right? And if not, if it's actual like Photoshop graphics you imported, just go into Photoshop and do that color overlay, change them to white, re-import them, and stick them on a page like this so you can export them. So you really whatever works for you, but the main goal, I'll change this back to black just for grins for right now. But the main goal is to get everything here the color you want it before you export it, so it makes the 3 copies in the color that you want. All right, so let's see. Going back into Dreamweaver here. All right, so now what we want to do is we want to put these buttons down at the bottom. And if we look go back at XD, we see that we have 5 of them, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to put this stuff down in the footer. Now we can use the same concept that we used up here with these button tags. We can just put 5 button tags down here and then put the white graphics on top of them. So what I'll do is I'll go up here and I'll click on this home button here, and I'll just grab this line of code here, this home button, copy it, and I'll come down here to my footer, right? And now I'm not going to need that text in there that says the word footer, so I can get rid of that. And I can paste in my button from up on top, and it's going to look like this. It's got my little button there, right? Now, what I can do is I can simply, hit my enter button to go down to the next line and paste that in. you know, a total of 5 times. I forgot how many times I did it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that's 5, right? So now we got the 5 icon buttons down there. Of course, these are left aligned, as is the case with any HTML code you do. It'll always left align first. So if we want to center that, we can use the same thing we used before to align stuff inside of a div. We go to the footer div and we click inside the angle bracket there, and we type the word align equals, and then we choose center. Okay, and then when we click in here, it centers all that stuff, right? Okay, so now all we have to do is replace the icons, you know, one at a time. So we'll go in here, and right now we've got this first one, which is, you know, they're all the house. So we'll click that one, get rid of the house, and put a new image in there. And of course, I'll have to go back here to remind myself what it is. Looks like it's the little globe. Okay, so what we're gonna do is, you know, make sure our cursor's in there. Go insert image. We're gonna look for anything that looks like a globe. Here it is, public. Okay, so we'll hit open, and then there's the globe. Oh, I guess the globe is the one that I missed. I when I was copying things, when I was making things color, I was like, did I do 4 or 5? And I think the globe is the one I missed. So I'll have to recolor that. Let me do that in just a second. Okay, and then we got this one here, which God knows what the heck that's called. But let's see if we can figure it out. So we click here. We can delete this code. A little house right here. And insert the image. Now we got to try and find the one that looks like a little monster guy. Oh, here it is. This one here. That one still looks. Oh, there should be white versions of things. That's the problem. So it looks like there's actually 2 that I missed. I missed this one called path, and I missed that one called public. But see, like this one called favorite. Here, I'll just show you as an example. That one I actually did do in white. So it looks like I only changed the colors of 3 of them to white, and now I have to go back and change the other 2. And of course, this favorites one is the last one. So I'm going to grab that, cut that out of where I put it here, and actually put that one in as the last one. So I'll replace this, get rid of the home in there, and then just paste this in. And so now we've got the heart at the end, right? So let me just drop in the ones that I do have. So let's see, I've got the heart, and then, yeah, the sword I remember recoloring. So let me go ahead and do that one. So that's the one right above this. Click on that and delete it. Oops. Okay, so insert image. Let's find the little white version of the sword. So look for the black version of the sword. There it is. And then the white version should be this right here, group 9. And yeah, sure enough, that's the white version of the sword. Let's see. And this one is the book, right? I'm not sure if I did the book or not. Let's find out. So we're going to delete this. And then easy way to tell, just see if there's a black book, and then look around for the white version of it. So looks like I missed that one. So I guess I was just asleep at the wheel. I guess I don't know what I was smoking, but I only looks like I only recolored 2 of the 5. So I got my work cut out for me. So let me pause the video again, go back one more time. Now I got to do the earth, the book, and that little head mask thing. Make them white. I'll be right back. Okay, this time for real. I just took a pause and recolored these so they would be white. And so now I can drop them back in. So this first one here, let's see. So if I just change this to underscore white, I should be able to see the right one pop up. Okay, that's good. And then let's see. So then we have the little head mask thing, and then the book. So I think the book is called Icon. Let me click in there and see if that's correct. So, uh, so the book is called Icon, which means Icon White would be the white version of the book. Let's see. Yep. And then we just have that little mask guy, which goes right here, or head. I'm calling it a mask, but it's like a helmet. Uh, and that one has a weird name. Is it Path? Yeah. So Path 16 White is the name for that. Okay, there we go. Now you can see that, maybe I didn't do the greatest job sizing my icons actually in the HD app because actually most of them look pretty good. They're all, well, they're slightly different sizes. Like you can see, this one is slightly higher than this because it's putting a certain amount of padding around the graphic, and then this one is slightly lower than everything else. So it would seem that I have more work to do here. I could shrink this graphic down slightly to try and get these buttons to be the same, and vice versa. I could increase the size of this a little bit to get it to look the same as everything else, right? Um, okay. Now there's other things that we can try here as well. Uh, so uh, let me think about this for a second and see what I might like to try. Okay, so in thinking about this, I figure there's two ways to solve this problem that I have. One thing which definitely has to happen, so I guess there's not really two ways to solve. There's only one way to solve one issue, which is the resizing of things. This head helmet here has to get a little smaller so it doesn't stick up above everything, and this heart needs to get a little taller. They basically need to all be the same height, regardless of what else I'm going to do. Now, which would mean going back into XD and resizing them. And of course, I could turn them white at that point and re-export them, and that makes sense because then I get all three versions of them in white. But the other thing that I'm thinking about is, maybe I want to get rid of this background button thing here, so it's just sitting on the black. And this background button thing is being created by this thing which is called data role equals buttons, and we're using a certain theme here, and the theme itself is what is making those look that way, right? I believe this is theme A, which makes everything look black. Let's see. Go up here. Oh well, it says data theme equals none. But I think it's defaulting to theme A right here in the bottom. Okay, and so in order to change that, I'd have to make a new data theme, and I think I think we'll cover that in the next class. We can make a new data theme using the theme roller website, and I'll just preview that for you. We've talked about it a little bit before. Uh, so this is the theme roller website, and this is where you can make your own custom themes. And so, what we would do is if we wanted our buttons, let's see, body, list header, it's showing you all these different examples, right? And you can, grab colors and drag them down here and make things whatever colors you want them to be. And what we could do is we could make a theme where, the backgrounds to buttons are just plain black. And then it would get rid of that sort of buttony effect of that we're experiencing right now. But like I said, let's hold off on that for another class. That's a whole nother thing. So instead, what I'll do is I'll take a minute on my own here. Maybe I'll drag some guidelines down and see if I can resize all of these to the same height, and then recolor them white, and I'll recolor those white as well and export everything so I have all the correct graphics. So I'm going to pause my button here and do that. Okay, so I just went into XD and I selected each one of these little bad boys here and colored them white, including those two up there. I exported it, and it asked me if I wanted to overwrite my existing files. It gave them the same names. So I said yes. And so what that means is theoretically, if I, instead of, doing the underscore white version of each of these, if I just go back to the normal name that it called them, it should put in the white version. So let's see if that's true. So like this right here is the home button, I believe, right? And then if I take off this underscore white, it's still showing as white, which means that what it did was it took the original name and overwrote it with the white version of the icon. So that's good, because now not only is that white, everything else is white, but also the 200% and the 300% version of it is white as well. Now down here, when I replace these, I can just put in the normal names of all these, take off the underscore white, but it should also change the size of them. So let's see what that looks like. So because I did resize them as well. So I'll just go under here and get rid of the underscore whites on all these. And so once again, what that means for you at home is if you're working on this as an example, you don't have to use this underscore white at all. You can just use this actual name of each file and then drop it in there. Now, as you can see, it did work. It looks like everything down here is now, well, it sort of worked. It looks like, which is strange because, oh, I see what happened here. I can't just change the names because what it did was when I dropped them in the first time, it put in the size of them at the actual size that they were the first time. And so what it did was it restretched all of these to be that size. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to go in and put them in again, just the ones that I changed the size on, which was almost all of them. It's these last four. I don't think I changed the globe. So, but this one right here, like for example, this guy right here, I've got to redrop him in so that instead of 56 and 34, it puts in a different height, right? In fact, you can see this first one here, its height is only 29, so hopefully the height on this thing will be closer to 29. So this one's called path 16, so let me go ahead and redrop this in. Okay, so insert image, and now of course I can just use the one called path 16 because it should be white already. So path 16, this one here, and then yep, look, it's 29, and you can see already that that looks better. Looks like it's the same size, right? Okay, and so I got to do the same with these other three, these last three here. So this one, the book is called Icon. So I got to get rid of all that. And insert image icon.ping. And then that looks right. The next one is called Group 9. Okay. Insert image. Group 9. Okay, and then yeah, that one looks a little weird, and it's because when I recolored it, it wasn't really clear what I was supposed to do, what was supposed to be what color, and so I made the middle transparent, and I think I need to make it white. So I'll need to go back and recolor that one, re-export it. And this last one is called favorite. So we'll do this. Insert image. Favorite here. Okay, so you can see now they all look like they're the same size, which is great. They're all, approximately the correct size. And like I said, I need to fix that little a sword and then re-export. So let me pause and do that. Okay, so I re-exported the sword. And so now I could try placing it back in here. Maybe if I re-drop it in again, so this is called group 9, maybe it will update the graphic for me. Let's see. No, it didn't quite work. So let me pause again and see if I can fix whatever the problem is with that. Okay, I had to do some tweaking around to get that to export correctly, but I got it now. It looks the way it should. I did notice that all of these icons have the correct height, 29, except for this one, which is at 31. It looks like the width and height, they're both 31. So, this is not the best way to do this. I should probably resize it actually inside of XD. But this is sort of a cheater way to do this. If I change the height and the width in here to 29, then we'll have some consistency as far as height goes, right? So now we've got all these, and like I said, we can talk about changing the button background in the next video. But one last thing we might want to do here is we might want to add some padding to these, or some margin, I should say, to separate them from each other just a little bit, because they're a little close. Now, of course, it depends, what we're going for. If we're going to try and get rid of these button backgrounds, then you won't see those and they won't appear as close anymore. But even with that, they're still kind of a little bit close together. So maybe there's a way that we can make them a little further apart, right? So what we could do is we could add, just like we did, with these buttons here, where we made a style. In that case, we made a style called home buttons, and we put a margin bottom on it and applied that style to each button. Down here, we can put in a style, but this time we want to put a little margin on the right of each button, right? But then not apply it to this one really at all. Well, let's see, how could we do this to make it sort of the same all around? I guess what we could do is we could add a little space on either side of this, so it could have its own style that where it adds space on both the right and the left. And then we could just add some space to the right of this and just add some space to the left of this, so that they're equal. So I know that's kind of a weird way to go about things, but it's one way that we could do this and make everything stretch out, right? So for example, we could make a new style. Uh, let's see. Let me go ahead and make a new style here. That line that I deleted, don't worry about that. That's just some experimentation I was doing. So let's make a new style, and let's call this center icon. Oops, that's weird. Okay. So center icon. It's still doing that thing. It's my keyboard's jumping down there, and it's pretty annoying. Okay, cent icon, and then we'll put these curly braces like that. Okay, and then we could say, margin right. I don't know, 0.2 em, and then we could say, I don't know how much this is going to change, so I'm just going to experiment, and I'll say margin left 0.2 em. So now we've got this thing called cent icon, which stands for center icon, right? And of course, I want to tab this back to here. I want to tab these guys back here so it's easy to read and find and work on. Okay, so now if I click on the center icon here, and then I tell it, okay, for this button, I want to have the class of center icon. Let's see, it's hard for me to tell. I can't really see if any space got created around that. Um, let's see if I go up and add some more, make this, a much bigger and more obvious thing here. I can see if it's working. 1 EM. Yeah, and I can't really see that working. So, see, class equals sent icon, and then dot sent icon, margin right, margin left, 1 EM. I can try padding. Sometimes if margin doesn't work, you can try padding and see if that works. And of course, that's not working. So let's take a different approach. Okay, so I think that the problem is that I'm trying to apply this class to the button itself, and I should probably apply it to the image so that it puts space on either side of the image, and of course the button will resize for the space that's created for the image. Now, of course, this is an exaggerated amount of space that I'm putting in here, just so I can see it work. So I'm taking that sent icon, classical sent icon, and instead of having it inside of the button tag, I'm now pasting it inside of the image tag. And sure enough, you can see it adds 1 EM of space on either side of the book there, which is, like way too much space. But that's what I wanted to see. I want to see if it could work, right? So now we can take that 1 EM and change it to a more reasonable number, like 0.2 EM. Okay, and that basically just widens the button a little bit and puts a little more space between that and everything, right? And now, so that means that there's more space here and here. So we have to add the same amount of space here. So, it's 0.2 EM, and I'll start out with that measurement and apply it here and here. And then if it's not enough, I'll just increase them all. So now we have to make a new style, which is going to do the same thing. And I'll just paste in this whole style again. And this time I'll call this one left icon. Oops, it's doing this weird thing where it jumps my mouse to a new place there. I'll call this one left, right? Now all I need to do is I need to apply it to this, and I need to put the 0.2 EMs over here on this side. But one problem just occurred to me, which is that that's going to look weird because it's going to just blow out one side of this button and not the other. So maybe what I really need to do is maybe I just do need to keep that sent icon and apply it to every button and see how much padding it adds to everything, and then just adjust these numbers so that it's the correct padding. So, sometimes you experiment and your experiment goes a little off and it teaches you, what you really should do. So let's take this sent icon class, which we've applied here, right? And let's see what happens. We can easily apply it to each of the images, right? We just go up to each image file here and we apply it, basically paste it in. Make sure to put a space afterwards so that there's room between that and the word width afterwards. And then down here, we'll just put it in here and space. Okay. All right, so what you can see is that it has moved all the buttons away from each other, and so now there is better spacing between all of them, right? Okay, and once again, we've got those background button looks that we may want to get rid of by messing with the data theme. But for right now, this looks pretty good, so I'm just going to go ahead and save it. Okay, so what did we accomplish today? So what we did was, we changed the name of the header to the name of the app, right? We dropped in this button, and of course they were black at first, so we had to change them to white. We dropped in a home button and a menu button. Then we dropped in these buttons, and we had some issues with those as well. First of all, they were black, so we had to change them to white, and then we had to resize them. And so we looked at, I did all that kind of on the fly, and you may experience something similar where you have to make shifts and changes to things as you drop them in, and then until you get them looking the way you want to. And then, of course, the last thing we did was we created this new style sent icon to put a little space in between everything. And so now we have a navigation or a home button and a button that we can set up to be the pop-up menu. We have the buttons down here, which we could call, this a navigation bar for lack, like a footer nav bar for lack of a better name. And of course, this is going to be the menu pop-up, and that's going to take us back to home, right? But this puts us in a good position as far as like getting this first page, all wired up and ready to go, and then copying and pasting that for, to make the other pages. So in the next video, what we'll do is we'll look into seeing if we can get rid of some of these background button looks here. We'll basically change the style so that we don't have that look. And then we will work on getting this to be a pop-up menu. When somebody clicks on that, so they get their pop-up menu that comes. And then we'll link everything. We'll link that to the home page. We'll link these to the names these pages are going to be in. We'll link all these guys. Of course, that'll be linked. And once that's all done, once we've aesthetically cleaned this up a little bit, made the working pop-up, which is the menu, and then linked everything, we'll essentially be completely done with one page. And then we're at the point where we can just take that big block of code for one page, copy it, paste it right underneath it, and now we've got a new page with all of the top and bottom links working. And then all we have to do is basically throw this junk out in the middle and drop in our new content, which we would export from XD. Some of it would be graphics, and some of it might be text that we would actually type right in here inside of Dreamweaver. Okay, so that's where we're going to stop today. And what I'll do, like I said, is I'll make a new file, which is called myapp2, and I'll upload it to the website, and that's going to have all these new graphics in it. Now, keep in mind, like I said, I made change after change after change to these graphics. At this point, you can just use the actual names of these graphics, so they're called public 24, path 16 icon, group 9, IC favorite 24. You can just use those names because that's what will actually be in the folder, along with all the other mishaps, but those will be in the folder. And then if you just take this one right here and sort of manually resize it to 29 by 29, everything should look pretty good. Okay, so I'll stop there, and then I will talk to you guys again on next Tuesday.